Let's take a couple minutes and we'll walk through the audio settings on Pioneer's DEH-X3800UI. So from any source, we're going to press in on the volume control and roll along until we find the audio menu and press enter. First thing we see is the fader control, and if you don't see a fader control on your system, check out the initial menu and make sure that you have full range speakers set up for your rear speaker output. Otherwise you won't see a fader control here. We'll get into the fader control by pressing enter, and here we can fade front to back, however you work that in your system, however you like to listen to it for you. We'll go back and roll over to the next setting, which is our balance control, and this is right to left, and here we can balance from the right to the left, and you can choose the setting that works best for you there. We'll go back again and roll over to our next setting, which is our equalizer settings, and for more information about the equalizer, check out the EQ video for this head unit. Let's roll over to the next setting now, which is our loudness control, and right now the loudness control is switched off. We can switch it on to its low level by pressing in on the volume control. Press again for mid, press again for high, and we can switch the loudness control off one more time. For right now, let's switch the loudness control on to its low setting. We'll roll over to the next setting, which is our subwoofer output, and right now the subwoofer is switched off. Now if you don't see a subwoofer control here in your menu, that means in your initial setup menu you need to have the rear RCA or the rear subwoofer set up as subwoofer out. If you have those as full range output, you will not see a subwoofer control here. So right now my subwoofer is switched off. If I press in on the volume control, my subwoofer output is switched on and in its normal phase. Touch again. Subwoofer output is switched on and in its reverse phase. You could choose normal or reverse, whatever sounds better in your car. Touch it one more time and that switches the subwoofer output off. For right now, we're going to switch the subwoofer output on and in its normal phase. Let's roll over to the next setting, which is subwoofer control. And if you don't see subwoofer control, that means you have the subwoofer switched off in the previous menu. We'll press in here. And the first thing we see is the crossover frequency, or the low pass filter crossover frequency, right now set at 80 Hertz. You have a number of different frequencies that you can choose from 50 up to about 200. We'll choose 100 Hertz for right now as our crossover point. Press in on the volume control and we can roll over to a boost or cut for that subwoofer output at the chosen crossover frequency. We'll boost that up just a little bit. Touch one more time and we roll over to our slope, right now set at 12 dB per octave. We can also change that to 24 dB per octave, again at the given crossover point of 100 Hertz. When you're done making your adjustments there, you can go back and roll over to the next setting, which is our bass boost. We'll press enter here and we can add a little more bottom into the system with the bass boost or take that back down to 0. We'll go back and roll over to our next setting, which is our high pass filter setting. Press enter for the high pass filter. Right now the high pass filter is turned off. If we roll over on the volume control, we can switch the high pass filter on and choose a crossover point for the high pass filter. We'll choose 100 Hertz, maybe 125 Hertz, press in on the volume control, and we can choose a slope of 12 or 24 dB per octave. Now let's go back, and we're going to roll over to our next setting, which is our source level adjuster, or SLA. Now the SLA adjustment here only shows up in your menu if you are not on the radio source. If you're on the AM/FM radio source, you will not see SLA. SLA means source level adjuster, and it allows you to adjust the volume independently of all sources compared to FM. The idea here is when we switch between sources, like AM/FM to CD to USB to auxiliary, the volume level should stay somewhere around the same. So right now we're on the auxiliary source. Oops. Here, we're on the auxiliary source. We're going to go back to that menu. We're at SLA, and we can make the auxiliary source a little louder as compared to FM, or a little quieter as compared to FM. So the SLA function works on CD. It works on everything that is plugged into USB and auxiliary, all independently, as compared to FM. Let's go back now and roll over to the next setting. That takes us back around to our fader control. At any time, you can exit this menu by pressing the band button to escape.